Namaskar. Very good afternoon to all. Consistent endeavors towards contributing for professional development of management education and safeguarding the interest of B schools in the country. Such great has been the vision of Association of Indian Management Schools AIMS. On behalf of Association of Indian Management Schools, I, Dr. Parimita Sarangi, Associate Professor, Srusti Academy of Management, Bhubaneswar, the moderator of this session, welcome you all to this knowledge sharing session on game-based learning. In the annals of management education sector, 27th of August 1988 should be remembered as a great landmark, as it was on this day the Association of Indian Management Schools AIMS, a highly impact-making networking body, was born. It has the strong support of about 550 high-ranking B schools as its members and is one of the largest networking bodies in the world. It is an umbrella organization for the management institutions. AIMS has been involved in protecting the interests of management institutions from the vagaries of restrictive governmental regulations, professionalization of management education, creation and dissemination of management-related knowledge through its various activities like roundtables for deans and directors, faculty, and student development events, organizing conventions, national and international level seminars and workshops, publications and distribution of AIMS Journal of Management, funding of research projects, and financial assistance. Of late, there has been a spurt in diversifying into new activities for the benefit of deans, directors, researchers, faculty, and students in the shape of inspiring young leaders and knowledge sharing sessions, at least once each every week. These new initiatives are very fascinating to many faculty and young minds of the students. Adding on to the series of these knowledge sharing sessions, today there shall be dissemination of ideas on a very apt topic, which is the need of the hour, that is game-based learning. Nowadays, when we are talking about OBE, outcome-based education, the question which arises is that what pedagogy do faculty members use so as the desired learning outcome can be attained? In a study conducted in 2018, the researchers had evidenced that the use of educational games would support and increase the mathematical learning outcomes. Same here, a systematic review on game-based learning highlighted that educational games play a successful role in terms of both a better understanding of the course contents by the students and the participation of the students in this process. Definitely, all of us shall have more clarity on this topic after listening to our resource person today. Our esteemed speaker for today is a business strategist and consultant with over 25 years of experience in leading and managing multiple business verticals, specializing largely in the technology-enabled education. He is Mr. Ganesh S, who is a learning and workforce development strategist and gamification specialist. Mr. Ganesh has worked in multiple verticals of education and training industry and has held various positions and performed strategic roles in organizations like First Computers, Pentasoft Technologies, Veron Education, QAI Global, Aries Global, and McGraw Hill Education. He has consulted and mentored several edtech startups. He is a qualified senior management professional from Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata, and also a visiting guest professor to several universities and institutes across India. He currently holds the position of Vice President, ICT Academy. We all welcome you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Now, before starting the session, I would like to share a two information to our participants regarding the technicalities of this session. The first point is all the participants have been muted. If anyone has any sort of question, please type it in the chat box. The questions will be taken up in the Q&A session towards the end. And the second thing is the participants will be shared the feedback link in the Q&A session. The feedback link will be open only for 15 minutes. And after giving the feedback, you will automatically receive the certificates. Please note that you have to give the feedback within 15 minutes. Now, may I request Mr. Ganesh S to please conduct the session? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me also start up with a disclaimer here. Okay, so I do have a slide deck to share, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to touch upon all the slides here, but I'll just give a quick overview of some of these elements. I might skip some of those slides. Okay. So I start with this. Learning can emerge as a spontaneous order at the edge of the chaos. And all of us have been witnessing this chaos for the last 2 to 3 years. Okay. Because when Madam read out my profile, largely I've been in the technology-based education mechanism of operation since 2000. I'm a serious advocate of technology-enabled learning. Okay, happened to work in the first LMS of India, which was brought in by a Netherlands-based organization, and a few of the academic institutions way back in 2000 adopted this LMS when even the word LMS was not existed at that point in time, and not many of them even heard about the e-learning concepts. In spite of me driving this idea of technology-enabled education for several years, I couldn't achieve that. But a virus can do that few years back, and many of the institutions could able to take that and get adapted to the new learning methodology of online education. So today I'm going to talk about this topic, which is quite interchangeably used, gamification in education or game-based education, but they are actually distinctly different. So gamification in education, since many of them can relate this topic, I brought it, but we're going to talk more on game-based education today. Okay, so I could probably give a quick overview on 3 things. What is a game-based education? What is the gamification in education? And what is games in different? Okay, the difference. So the games which we are quite used to could be any of these games that which come across played through a mobile phone or through your physical environment in terms of football or cricket or whatever it is. Wherein how this piece of the component of the game can be adapted to the learning process, can be derived out of these games is what a game-based learning talks about. There are several variants to the game-based learning mechanism. Probably we'll be touching upon one small piece of it. The third element is the gamification in education. This is relatively new, unlike the other 2 elements. Okay, on how you can make your class more engaging with the loyalty mechanisms, which was developed by the industry a few years back. I'm not sure how many of you have happened to read this book called Loyalty 3.0, a very interesting book. Okay, so this derives some of those elements on the gamification in the classroom engagement. Today, many Western world universities and corporates have started adopting gamification. So I'm not going to get into the details of that now. Okay, so we're going to talk more about the game-based education but why. Okay, so this cartoon of it, which I wanted to bring in. Okay, so especially we bring in for the business schools. Okay, many of us come across students coming back to us and telling us this. Okay, the appalling element over those years is that we need to accept the fact that the curriculum in the colleges are not adequate enough to prepare for corporate life. And I've been working on this. In fact, I'm hold currently a responsible position to see how we can bridge this particular piece of engagement. Okay. We don't encourage the student community to think freely or solve problems. Okay. It is confined to certain mechanism that we are working to. Okay. That too, to a community of students who are highly tech savvy, hooked to their mobile phones always. Okay. I could probably call him is the architect of the current education system which we are all following, Lord Macaulay. Okay. A British who was summoned by the British Empire almost like 250, 300 years ago to visit to a country called India and understand its geography, demography, and come back to the British Parliament and advise on how we can do business in this particular country. So this man visited the length and breadth of the country and said, went back, presented a report, and many of you would have seen that extract of that, which says that he recommended adopting a different education system. He said, this is a country with so much of diversity. If at all, if we need to unify and do business, we need to impose English as an element of learning. He said, these guys are too smart enough, but if we need to disrupt that, we need to make them work as our slaves. And if we have to make them work as our slaves, we have to teach them in such a way that they don't think. Okay, they shouldn't think and ask questions. Okay, because the end objective is these guys are supposed to come and work for the British Empire in India. Okay, where there is a checklist given and they have to just adopt and work as per the checklist. Okay, not expected to think beyond and deliver what has been said. Okay, they wanted to build clerical positions, so clerks were built, and that's how the education system is what structured and designed and brought in for implementation. So, and today, this still prevails, whatever said and done, as the model that we are adopting today. So, he is the man behind the scene for building this. But we should also understand this is how our classrooms look. Okay. It's a sorry state. Okay. If I remember, the designation called lecturer has been removed from the UGC almost like 10, 15 years back. But we're still lecturing in the classrooms. Okay. Have you made any big difference? I'm not sure, because I do have traveled the length and breadth of the nation, visited several colleges, addressed several faculties, or conducted several faculty development programs, engaged with the faculty. I'm not sure how far that impact has been made and what is the change that is there. We are more confined to this model even today. Why shouldn't we? Okay. Now, this data says that the goldfish is the one which has the lowest attention span in the nature's creation, wherein this has been overtaken by human brains in the year 2013. Okay. So earlier to that, it was 12 seconds of attention span that human brains had in 2000, wherein in 13 years it changed, and we've overtaken the species which is the lowest attention span by nature was the goldfish, as 8 seconds. 8 seconds is our attention span. Okay. Now, I'm worried about even my session, which is going to go on for 1 hour. Okay. Now, But what we do in our colleges is that we try to keep the students sit for about 6 hours or 8 hours in a day and try to bombard them with lectures after lectures and after lectures. Okay. Now, this is not going to be a sustainable model. Okay. So we need to reinvent the entire learning process and teaching process. So technology is the way. Okay. So when I talk about technology, I use PPTs. Okay. So uh, it's not any different. Okay. And we have oriented our learning process completely to what we call it as exams. Okay. It's exam centric and exam centric. And the students try to learn to solve things only just for the sake of examinations. Okay. Um, I do have several interns who currently work with me and come from an MBA background. I ask them even certain fundamental things, what they would have studied last semester, not too very long ago. Okay, they don't even realize that that was part of their curriculum. Okay, because probably the professor would have said that this is not going to be an exam question, so you can even skip this portion. And so they don't even touch that part. Okay. And beyond that, even if it is exam centric questions where they read, okay, they read it just for the sake of examination. The moment they step out of the examination hall, it's all vanishes out of their head. So it's equivalent to the print scan copier machine, which has a temporary memory in it. You scan it, it stores it in the memory for a few seconds or minutes, and then as gets printed. The moment it gets printed, it gets out of the memory of the machine. Okay. Same is the case where students scan through the books. Then the moment they see the question paper, they print that in the question papers. Many of the printer machines fail to render the right print. Okay. And the biggest pain I always feel for academicians like you is correcting theory papers, especially papers like economics. Oh, it's the toughest component. Okay. You might see the movie review that happened last week, last Friday's movie review, or the TV serial reviews that are also part of the economics papers in between. Okay. So it's been completely exam centric where we have been focusing on. Okay. Why we miss on the application part? Many students don't even know why they are going to apply this. I can give you examples. Like I was talking to one of the intern yesterday who was doing an internship on the HR area. Maslow's need of hierarchy. Well, all of us talk about this. I asked them about the application. They don't know. Okay. How is it applied in the industry today? No. It was a topic, part of the HR. Okay. So people, when it comes to question of motivation theory, they learned about it. So it was their part of the examination paper. They drew that triangle, okay, or a pyramid, whatever you like to call, put in all the stages of it and given paragraphs of date information, and that's it. Okay. The application piece was completely missing where and why it's to be applied. Today, generation is much different. So the example what I have brought in here is probably the grandfather's generation, wherein they were hooked to the concept of books. There were independent houses. Okay. Newspapers were available as news, wherein the latency of getting information was almost 24 hours. Okay. Or in some cases, if it is international news, it is even 48 hours or 72 hours to get it. That was the latency in getting the data. Okay. We had smaller groups. Okay. And a larger families, independent house. This is the environment where probably our grandfather's generation was. Okay. Very limited exposure. Then came the next generation, probably our generation, I would probably say. We have got exposed to what is called as the television, where the latency of information and news availability was reduced probably from the 72 hours to 24 hours for an international news or less. And The domestic newses were available little more faster for us. Okay. The culture of the apartment and high-rise buildings started to emerge. We were all reading through print books, newspapers. Okay. Still largely individual houses and things. Intervention of computers started to come. Okay. Or probably we had handheld games devices which were there. Okay. Not of much higher end thing. Then probably a little closer to us in the generation today with so many elements to learn from. Okay. The content, the news is on their fingertips. Okay. They have access to several devices today, and the generation has a much better exposure in terms of content. As an organization, we do have a content team. I have completely recalibrated the content team. It's not anymore, we call it as a content creation team. We call it as a content curation team. Okay. The content doesn't need to be created. Content exists everywhere. Everywhere the content exists. Now, faculties who teach marketing, I'm sure that all of us, I mean, especially the marketing faculties, would be very comfortable using the marketing book of Philip Kotler. Okay. Or might be an author who would have still referred Philip Kotler and built his or her book. Okay. Now a student can just go to YouTube, search for Philip Kotler, videos available, and he can available to teach you on a particular topic. So you are hearing from probably the horse's mouth in terms of what marketing or the particular element of marketing. Okay. Now, where is the role of a faculty there? Okay. Now, the faculty role is not anymore a faculty or a professor. I will call them as a facilitator in the classroom. Okay. You have to be a content curator, guide them and redirect them to what they need to look for. Okay. I happened to visit a college, might be about 3-4 years back, and I was sitting with the head of the department. Okay. So on his table, there were two big set of files. There's one which was stack of files which is there, another one was a smaller stack. Okay. So he just asked me to take the smaller stack. So I picked up one of this file. It was a student's project report. He was given some title and he was asked to do some research on the title and write an article on the particular title. So I could see some 10-15 students who have that stake. So I was going through, it had a proper nice title cover, then the table of contents, the acknowledgement, and then the article was available, ending with the bibliography and all this. There was another stack which was there, okay, with so many, it's a bigger stack. So I could pick up, this also had a very beautiful title cover, okay, and the acknowledgement part, TOC was missing, and I was trying to look at it further in detail, okay. When I opened the core topic that needs to be covered, the guy has written the topic and said, title not found. That was his response. I asked him, so this entire stake was that. Okay, so at least some 15-20 of files were only this. I asked him, what is this? He said, sir, the guy would have searched it in Google. And if the topic was not there in the first page of it, then he has written it as title not found. Okay. It's not even, he goes further beyond to search for it. Okay. Probably a little old generation, I would still claim it as old generation, went into a library to search for a content, and then today I'm not sure how many of them go into that library or how many know there is a library in their institution. Okay. So there is a tectonic shift happening in the way the students engage and learn. So our orientation also needs to completely change on how do we teach them. We believe that we need to teach them. We don't need, we have to engage them in the learning. We are talking about a generation Z which is going to come into our classroom. Okay. The effective engagement mechanism is not any more verbal, which we are trying to do. They want everything visual. Okay. They don't want to sit and listen. They just wanted to try and see. They don't want teachers. They need facilitators. They don't want the content what which says what. They just wanted to know the process of why. It shouldn't be curriculum centered. It has to be learner centric. It's not the same. Okay, we need to move away from the closed book exams to open book exams. Okay, I'm happy that the CBSE has made some efforts. I'm not sure how successful it was in terms of bringing up this concept of open book exams even at the school level. The largest of this particular crowd exists in this country called India. Okay, I'm sure that many of you might be knowing that today, just about 3-4 weeks ago, okay, or must be a month ago, we have become the most populous country in the world, highest in the population, overtaking China. Okay, the huge crowd that we are there, and the largest portion of it, 59%, is people who are in the age group below 23 or 25. Okay, 59%. It's a huge democratic advantage that we have. Okay, it's a democracy, it's a dividend that we have. Okay, how do we capitalize this? Something which we need to tap in better. So this particular crowd needs a different way of engagement and not the same primitive methods. Okay, they change 17 jobs. Probably a generation sitting in this room, or maybe the generation probably I or my forefathers or fathers below. So they have joined one company, they retired out of the same company, or they would have changed 2 companies or 3 companies during the entire lifetime. But that's not the scenario today. Okay, so it says average of 17 jobs they change. They change careers, not just jobs. They shift careers. So that's the way wherein this particular crowd works. Okay, so our practice of teaching them what we adopt will not work anymore. This needs a tectonic shift because the generation is much different. Okay, as I pointed out, they are people who are hooked, connected, and we need to engage them in the way where they wish to get connected. Okay, so one of that is gamification. I spoke about the gamification in brief about it earlier. Okay, this part of it is transforming the classroom environment by bringing in regular activities into a form of a game. Even what you give, even a small assignment can be converted to a game form. Okay, so you bring in a scoring mechanism to it. You conduct a small quiz, which can be having a scoring mechanism to it. Okay, so there are various ways where you can look at converting. It's a huge topic by itself, so I'm not going to get into the topic in detail. But the topic which I'm going to deal much is about the game-based education and why the game-based education is required. Okay, I interchangeably use because people easily relate to the word gamification, but I'm going to talk more about the game-based education. It's considered to be one of the most effective approaches. Okay, this is, we believe, is something which we have borrowed from the Western world. No. Okay, probably we are the pioneers to it. Okay, our Gurukul system of education was completely built on the game-based learning mechanism. Okay, the kids went into an ashram where the guru taught them on various elements. It's all team-based activities and game-based learning that they learned, whether it was a sword fighting or horse riding, or whether it is, your whatever it is. It was like playing with a bow and arrow. Okay, every element was completely driven to that of the game-based model. Okay, why? It brings in an intrinsic reinforcement to the learning process. Okay, Let's take a human psychology part of it. Okay. Now, I'll give you an example before I get into the few other elements mentioned here in terms of some of the chemistry related words which I've used here. Okay. Because management faculties don't like to hear this. Okay. Uh, Now, in our homes, okay, if at all, if you would have kids who are in the teenagers or girls, child who are in the age group of say 9 and 14, okay, and it holds good for even boys for that matter in that particular age group, okay. So if you take boys during the summer vacation, okay, the holiday time frame, okay, you will notice them before and after the summer vacation. You will see that they have grown a little height. They've grown a little taller. Okay. Uh, Girls, especially in this particular age group, we will probably come across to see most of them attain their puberty during this holiday time. Okay. There is a reason behind this. The reason is largely this is a time when they play. I'm talking about playing on a physical environment, not on their mobile phones. Okay. Uh, Probably the environment is different now, but when they go out and play, okay, uh, on the sun, okay, wherever there's a physical activity, the body automatically secretes something called dopamine. Okay. It's an energy booster. Okay. What we call as a dope test. All the athletes are undergo a dope test. Dope test is nothing but they induce dopamine to gain more energy. The more the energy, they'll be able to do it much better. So the energy drinks which you are seeing in the markets also carry a lace of dopamine in it. Okay. Dopamine secretes in the body. Okay. The moment the dopamine secretes and you gain that energy and you are able to win, okay, what we call it as a winner effect. The next hormone that gets secreted is the testosterone. Okay, this testosterone and dopamine combination helps people succeed. The more you succeed, you will always wanted to succeed more. Okay, so the good mechanism is always in the education part. The friends, the feedback, and the fun. If these three elements are brought in, okay, the push for winning comes in more and more. So, as I pointed out, dopamine is one of the neurotransmitter in the body, and it does all those exercises where your testosterone improves, which is the growth hormone. Okay, growth hormone not just only for the physical body, but also your mental body, which is your brain, also improves. Okay, so games have always been a mechanism adopted in our education practice to a great extent. But unfortunately, the last 200, 300 years, we have forgotten this. Okay, we read about the history. The history says that there was a country which was the superpower for almost 1500 plus years in the entire globe. There was no country in the world which was having that to be a position of a superpower, and that was only India. It was not the UK which conquered us. Okay. Later part of time, it was China which took over, and then it was US that has taken over the position of superpower. Okay. The history would repeat again, wherein we are expected to catch up that position by 2030 or 2037. Okay. So there are very interesting data which I could share with you over a period of time. Okay. What does it brings? Okay. It has proven to bring in a learning outcome better. It increases the motivation and engagement level of the students. It brings in the creativity. Okay. I do engage with the students, and I'm not talking with just a slide without any data. I just engage with the students. I mean, at least once in a month, I engage through my games to the student community and do this. And I have seen the outcomes of it. Okay, they work as teams, so it improves their communication process. They will be able to communicate better because they get forced to communicate with the co-participants. Even a timid guy in the classroom, because of the competitive spirit, tries to convey what he wants to convey in the game. So it strengthens their communication. Okay, it is the one of the best methods for the student engagement. I can in fact try to give you an overview of one of the games because of the time that is required, because probably it's, if I go into it, it takes at least 1 or 2 days kind of a session which I'm trying to compress in 1 hour. Okay, so this gives a complete element of dynamical change in their innovation process. Okay, absolute creativity. Okay, and they try to gain several elements of management skills. What we talk about, the soft skills of team building, communication, everything, plus the strategic thinking process oriented to the domains of finance, marketing, HR, where they are put into a problem. Okay, so what does exactly it does is that, I'm just, let me skip this question. Okay, no, I'll come to this part later. Okay, so what does it do is that it's an extension of a case study based learning, and I'm sure all of us have used this. A case study in a classroom is given, and they just go through this case study where there could be a problem statement, and they try to find a solution to the problem statement, discuss in the classroom, probably as groups, and then they say, here is the solution or the set of solutions. The classroom come to a consensus on, yeah, this might be the right solution by way of voting. Say there is one solution, so the faculty ask, okay, here is the solution. How many of you agree this is the best solution? So the hands goes up. Okay, so based on the maximum votes, wherein we come to a consensus or take a decision, yes, this is the right mechanism. Okay, if voting can change, then we would have better leaders in this world. Okay, so that's not the right approach. Okay, unlike science education where the students are put into a practical environment, management students don't get to that. Okay, here game-based learning, business simulations gives that opportunity where the students can be given a problem statement, which is an extension of a case. They work on the problem statement, they derive solutions of the problem statement, they implement it, they execute it, and they see the results in a simulated environment. Okay, like how a flight simulator or a car driving simulators exist, management simulations are also available. Both technology-enabled simulations do exist, the non-technology-based simulations do exist available in the market. Okay, so it tries to bring in making every participant challenge, be part of it. Okay, there is an inherent feedback mechanism that goes into the entire gaming process. They work on problems, they see failures, they get onto the iteration of it, try to solve it. Okay, every element what is required for a management profession can be derived out of a game-based learning mechanism. Okay, just I was talking about our primitive mechanisms. Okay, now some of these game-based components which we can bring into the classrooms in terms of teaching. Okay, which I try to adopt when I do. Okay, even for a group formation. Okay, when we try to group, okay, we'll say 1, 2, 5. So say 1, 2, 3. Okay, all ones in group and other twos in groups and things. Okay, now to make it a little more fun in a classroom. Okay, ask all the students to raise their little finger. Okay, ask them to go and find a pair of people whose little finger size matches with them. So they go around the classroom. Okay, interact and try to. This is a fun. If you look at, I mean, if you try this, it will be a lot of fun exercise in the classroom. Okay, it could take few minutes, but it's worth doing that. Okay, rather than they forming group in in a routine way where you call all the ones together, or you say you form your team on the. Okay, another way is that I'll try to take the gems chocolate, which comes in different colors. Okay, so I handpick those 5 different colors, and based on the classroom size, I bring in those number of chocolates. So I'll ask them to pick one color. I don't tell them what it is. I'll just ask them to close their eyes and pick one color and not to eat the chocolate until we convey that. Okay. So then I say, okay, all those who carry the yellow color ones come together as a team. Okay, all the red ones as another team. Okay, then after ask them to take. Okay, so there are various ways. If you put across, you will find ways to make even a group formation in a classroom more fun oriented. Okay, on the learning part. Okay, I use this snake and the ladder. Okay, snake and the ladder game for conducting assessment in the classroom. Okay, assessment is it's not the exam approach model. That's completely different what I try to do. Okay, so I'll just tell you in the next slide how we'll do. Okay, so we conduct something called of course technology tools like Kahoot. Okay, just get into Kahoot. You'll have wide varieties of quizzes available as templates. Okay, so you have it's very easy to conduct these. Okay, it's a wonderful tool that faculties can approach. Then element of a gamification to an extent. So I take the virtual currency or those dummy currency notes. So I buy them in the market and keep it. Okay, so whenever I conduct a workshop, so when my workshops are largely targeted at faculties. So we say this is the time to where they need to start the classroom, they need to get into the classroom. So the early birds who come inside the classroom, I give them the 1,000 rupee note. Okay, the dummy currency. Okay, and during the 2 days of my workshop, for several activities, they keep collecting the dummy currencies. Okay, and the end of my 2-day workshop, I get some goodies. Okay, it could be some books, anything. Okay, and I ask them to bid and take that book through with the dummy currency. Okay, so students can be they can also be tried. Okay, if you can't give them the the dummy currency because they might not retain it. And today we are living in a world where it's all UPI transactions. Okay, hardly we see currency notes, and we don't much even go to ATM machines to collect withdraw. Your currencies or the cash. So you wanted to use the virtual currency mechanism of a tabulated mechanism of how much you try to pay them, and they keep accumulating that virtual currency. So these are things which you can try adopting in your classroom to make it more fun oriented. Okay. I use a method called relay quiz. So I form 2 groups in the classroom, and they have to stand one after the other. Okay, in a form of a line or a queue. And before the first person, a little away on the wall, I take a printout of the answers and put that. Okay, so there are 2 queues and 2 set of answer sheets. Answers are there on the wall. Okay, I ask them the question. The first person has to run, find the answer, tick it, go back to the last in the queue. Okay, the team that completes the quiz first, okay, is the winning team. Okay, these are just learning engagement process. Okay, it need not be where you conduct a cycle test where you take pain to create a question paper. Okay, burn your midnight oil to set that question paper and give them. Okay, and then ask them to write the examination. Okay, they try to do all malpractices. You get tensed by that. Okay, the objective is that they have to learn. Okay, there are various ways that they acquire that knowledge rather than, okay. So we try to take efforts in assessing whether they acquired knowledge by which actually they don't. Okay, because it doesn't register. They just have prepared it for that particular point and then they forget it. Case studies. Okay, case studies need not be always done as where we give a case study to teams and they form as teams. You ask the teams to come and give a presentation. if you notice, most of the presentations will be almost look-alike. Might be the color, the theme that they use in the slide deck might have been different. Okay. Instead of asking them to prepare and present it, ask them to play a role of a CEO or a CFO or a CMO, and then from that viewpoint, let them do a role play. Okay, that's a better way of engaging on a case study exercise. I use something called 6 thinking hats. This is an Edward E. Bono's logic. Okay, so I don't know whether I have a slide on that. Okay, so before that, okay. So what I do as well as the 6 thinking hats is that there are 6 different colors. Okay, each color denotes one element of the business part of it. One is a positive element, one is the negative element, one is the data element. So there are 6 different elements of which they can relate in a case study. Okay, so the team which gets the positive elements will go into the depth of the case and try to derive only the positive things that the company did over the time of case, before and after or during. Okay, there could be another team which will try to bring in only the negative things that the organization did and present it. There will be another team which will come and present only the creative elements that the organization did during this period. Another team will bring in only the data points part of it. Another team will do the consolidation exercise. So there are 6 different teams come. We ask them to come in that particular color code. They have to design their own hat. They wear the hat. Okay. They decorate the hat in different forms. They apply their creativity in their dress, hats, everything, and they come and present it. Okay. It's a fun to see, and the learning component was wonderful in those exercises. These are smaller things which you can worry. So, I mean, look into it. Okay. I was talking about the snake and the ladders. What I do is that, okay, I ask the form teams, ask the team to roll the dice. Okay, if the dice goes and the count says 4, the one of the person in the team will go and stand in number 4, and there will be a defined question which I will have for the number 4. Okay, if they answer the question, they have the eligibility to roll the dice again. Okay, and 4 happens to be a place where the ladder exists, and they answer it right, they can climb up. Okay, so then it goes on. Okay, now let's assume they are on 17 and they answer it right, they can just move on. If they answer it wrong, they trail down. Okay, so for every number in the box, I have some set of questions which are predefined, and I ask them so it's a fun of playing. The team which goes and reaches the 100 finish line is the winning team. Okay. The learning, this can be done in one day or multiple sessions also, need not be one session, because paucity of time, everything. Okay. Then there is many faculties who ask me this question. Yeah, here is one small example which we tried during the pandemic at our home. Okay, to engage my kids. This is something which we tried doing it. Okay, during the pandemic. Okay, so which can be converted to our classrooms too. Okay. Yeah. So now coming to the topic on business simulation in detail. Business simulation, as I said, it's an extension of case study based mechanism. Okay. I think I've covered that. Okay. What do you learn in the business simulation? As I said, okay, it tries to illustrate the business concepts which have been theoretically present through a problem statement as a case where the students work as a team and try to work on a decision-making process and then implement, execute that particular decisions. Okay. A host of simulation games exist in the market which can be adopted. Okay. And it's considered to be one of the most effective mechanisms which has been practiced by the Western world. And many Indian institutions use business simulations, business schools, especially I've seen most of the IIMs use business simulations. Okay. There is a company which, of course, I don't wanted to promote and take this opportunity to promote it, but just wanted to share with you. This is a company called LearnBiz, which I co-founded way back in 2009. Okay, which has about 37 different business simulations, and we have close to about 150, 200 institutions and corporates using business simulations. For corporates using for the training of their employees, corporates using this for hiring process of their employees. Okay, the interesting element for the last 3 years, all the IAS officers passing out of the academy at Dehradun, the last 3 days of their engagement is on our business simulation game. Okay. Okay, now the question is, faculties come across, sir, we have been given only 45 hours in a semester to teach a topic. Okay, it's itself we find it very difficult to cover. Okay, then how do I integrate, bring in all these things? Okay, my answer to this for all the faculties is that you don't look at this as a separate value addition to your classroom. This is a pedagogy, it's a methodology of teaching. No where in the UGC or ASAT says that you need to use a PPT or you need to use a whiteboard or a blackboard to teach concept. Here is a wonderful mechanism where you can look at using it, and spending about 5 hours or 8 hours on a subject, I can challenge you, you'll be able to cover at least 75% of your syllabus through this game. Okay, there is one such game of us on economics, especially microeconomics. I can say I have done it, and I've seen that when I map it with some of the curriculums adopted by most universities on microeconomics, might be called in different topics, titles, at least I can see 94 to 96% of the syllabus can be covered in 5-6 hours itself. Now, if you're able to achieve that in 5-6 hours on the 45 hours that is available for you, it makes your function and job more easier. Okay, and this is one such good mechanism to engage the students. Here is what I call it as the learning, the pyramid, okay, the inverted pyramid, on how we remember. Okay, how much do we remember? When we read something, the verbal learning portion is 10% or 20%. That is when you hear, it is 20%. The visual learning component is ranging between 30 to 50%. That is when you view pictures, you will be able to acquire 30%. If you watch as audio visual movies, okay, motion pictures, then it's 40%. Or if you see a demonstration of something, you'll be able to remember 50%. But the third phase, which is the action-oriented learning part of it, when you teach, I'm sure as teachers, you would have realized this. We would have learned more what we have rather than when we were in colleges, when we started teaching. Okay. So when you teach, it's 70%. That's where we talk about the flipped classroom-based teaching method. Probably if there is another day to talk about, I'll be able to delve on that particular area of flipped classrooms. Okay. Flipped classrooms are actually a biggest advantage for the faculties, I would say. People don't take it seriously. Okay, you can relax and teach. Today, that's not happening. Okay, you make your students teach and you just facilitate. Okay, there are various mechanisms that can be adopted for flipped classroom. Okay, simulation. When you simulate an activity and you participate in an activity, it's 90 or 100%. So this is the value proposition that you gain out of the learning process. Okay. Some of the effective reasons why you need to, it's a risk-free learning. Okay. And they'll be able to manage uncertainties, because today's world of business is all about uncertainties. Okay. The challenge that is put across to us, okay, we have been teaching things which are primitive and been defined for several years. Okay, I just wanted to throw some statistics here for the faculty's ears. Okay, now the India story. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the world, but the India story part of it. Okay, the total foreign direct investment in India since 1947, that is since our independence, is about $950 billion. It's $950 billion since 1947. Now, The $532 billion out of this 950 billion has come in the last 19 months. It's come in the last 19 months. Okay. It's not from few set of countries, but it has come from 162 countries. Okay. That's the story of India. In fact, 2022, the last year, there was 83.5 billion, which is almost 10% of the overall investments that has come in since independence, has come just one year, 2022 itself, about $83.5 billion. Okay. And it is not one or two sectors. It was investments that was going into 61 sectors. So many industries are growing up in this particular nation. Okay. So much of innovations are happening. It is not confined to one or two states where this investment are gone. It has gone to 31 states and union territories in this nation. Okay. Every smaller villages are also contributing to the economy and GDP of this nation. Okay. The best thing is that, okay, 93% of this investment of FDI has come on an open route. When I say open route, no direct permission or intervention from the government existed for this. Okay. It can easily come in. So that's the flexibility the government has brought. Okay. Now, if you look at the GDP of the nation, it's almost like $3.5 trillion. The first trillion of this 3.5 trillion took almost 67 years for us to realize. And the second trillion came in 8 years. The third trillion has come in 5 years. The pace of which the economy is progressing is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Okay, with multiple sectors dominating the space. Okay, we are the largest human resource for the world. The largest human resource for the world. Okay, almost 1 billion population is below 35 years of age. We are the youngest country in the world. Okay, the most ancient economy of the world is the youngest country today in the world because of the population that which is there. The very recent BCG data says that an average Indian in the next 20-30 years would be spending almost $24,000 in his lifetime. $24,000 in his lifetime. Average Indian. Okay. Now, just do the math calculation. $24,000 into 1 billion population. Okay. There cannot be a biggest economy in the world that can reside here. Now, we are competing. I wouldn't say we are competing. We are in a much advanced stage. This advantage of being the youngest country in the world will remain at least till 2070. Okay, so that's the state in which we are operating. Technology is far in terms of advancements. Okay, the data consumption, the global ranking in terms of data consumption, if you look at in the year 2015, July 2015, we were in the 122nd or 123rd rank. Okay, 2021 February, we are the number one in the world. Just about 7 years time frame or 6 years time frame. Highest, that is almost 41 to 43% of real-time financial transactions are happened through mobile phone. The highest anywhere in the world was in this country. Okay, so we have rapidly changing. Rapidly, it's not. I wouldn't say we are trying to do any kind of a very organic progress. It's though organic, it's multifold startups. If you take the startups, okay, when the Startup India in 2016 was established, there are about 452 startups in India registered. Okay, now if you look at today, we are number 3 in terms of maximum number of unicorns exist. We are number 2 in terms of number of startups exist. We are number 1 today in the number of startups starting every day in the world. Okay, so many startups are happening. Now, we can't go adopting the traditional way of engaging management professionals, because all of them are going to culminate to what we call it as going to run this economy, and we are building the professionals for this economy and this industry, okay, spread. And we need to be ensuring, and we have to have that responsibility of building a much better citizens to the world. Okay. So want of time already, I've crossed the given time. Okay. So I'm not sure how much of time available to take up questions. So I wish to take up these questions if there is any. Okay. And I'm sorry, I was running through. There is a lot more to cover. Okay. I have to just rush through. I wanted to give you an overview and show you some of the business simulation games that can be played and how it can be used, but we don't have time to do that. Okay. Thanks. Thank you all to listening me patiently. Okay. I hope I have given you some kind of smaller information which can be translated and used in your classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really very interesting and full of insights we have all got on the different aspects of game-based learning. Sir, we can take a couple of questions. We have a few questions in the chat box.
Okay.
I request our participants if they can write their question in the chat box. One question is from Mr. S. Kadam. How to execute the game learning in classroom? Please give few ideas about games which can be helpful to connect with students.
Okay, so I have I'll just put it in the chat window itself. Okay, there are several options. One of it, which is I was mentioning about the kind of the company which we started a few years back. You can search in the Google. It's called LearnBest Simulations. Okay, we host about 37 or 40 different business simulation games. These are subjects aligned right from economics to finance to marketing. Okay, these games are there. If you wish to know much about it, you can always write to me. I'll also sharing my personal email ID on the chat window. I don't mind sharing my mobile number as well. If you wish to reach out to me, you can also do that. But there is a caveat. Normally, I don't pick up the calls. Okay, so you can just message me. Okay, so the end of the day, I can come back to you. Okay, so.
Sir, one more question from Dr. Zamir Ahmed. Sir, as we watch cricket international matches during the time, the analysis come to screen related to the performance of the batsman, about their past performance, etc. Can we learn easily by everyone watching the game? Is this the example of gamification?
No. So gamification is completely different. Okay. So those are data points in terms of analysis. It's more of a data analytics or business analytics, that is it. Gamification is, so as I pointed out in the beginning of my session, there are three elements. Gamification is how do you make your classroom interesting in terms of giving scores and points to every activity. It's not an assessment or an assignment or a quiz. Even if a student completes a given homework or you ask them to read a case study, okay, those who have completed the case study, okay, so you find out whether they have completed the case study, reading the case study, okay. I'm sure most of the students, when we give something to read, they don't come reading that. Okay. Now, what I do is that, in fact, day after tomorrow, I'm doing one case study session for a college. So I have given the case study material much in advance, and I create a small Google form with questions related to that case study. Okay, and I share it on the Google link to the students with the form where they answer that. Okay, they usually treat this as an assessment and they try to answer. So if they have to, when they treat this as an assessment and trying to answer, obviously they go and read the case study and then they answer it. So my objective is make them read the case study and that gets achieved, rather than saying, okay, please ensure that you come prepared for the classroom, reading the case study. And I'm sure at least 70% or 80% of the classroom will come without reading the case study. Okay. And we end up spending time again on the classroom to do that. Okay. Now, in this example, as I finish the classroom, so I say that, okay, the first 5 people who complete get 10 points each. Then I say the next 10 people who complete it would probably, or 20 people will only about 7 points. So I keep accumulating points and scores for every activity I conduct or do in the classroom. Okay. Even if they come to the classroom on time, I give them a point. Okay. This integration of it is what we call it as a gamification. Okay. This is different from the game-based approach. Okay, game-based learning. Okay. Gamification as such is a very, very vast topic. Okay. I don't think I'll be able to do justice by giving you inputs in 1 hour of time. There are very interesting books available on this area.
Sir, one more final question. We'll take, sir. Last question.
Yeah, sure.
May we know the simulation for microeconomics you just mentioned? This is asked by Dr. Durga Prasad. He wants to know the simulation for microeconomics.
Okay. In the chat window, I've given the website address. You go into that website, you will find under the games category economics. Under economics, there is a game called Citrus Paribus. Just put again on the chat window. This is a game which you use for microeconomics.
Another question by Mr. Srimant Kumar. How can we use gamification in virtual mode?
I just wanted to clarify to understand the question better, whether it is gamification you're talking about in virtual mode or game-based learning in virtual mode.
Since most of the learnings are happening in online mode, so how do we use gamification in virtual?
So if it's talking about gamification, okay, there are software solutions available in the market to track the gamification part. In fact, the gamification component can be done more better in a virtual mode. Okay. I can give you an example. There is a platform called Trialhead. This is a software solution developed by, it's a learning solution developed by Salesforce. Okay. The entire learning process is completely gamified. Khan Academy. Many would have heard about Khan Academy. Khan Academy is an international platform which adopt the concept of gamification in it. Okay. Some of the job portals today, okay, some of the job portals have adopted gamification in that mechanism. Okay. Various example. Microsoft. So the software testing process within the organization adopt gamification. Okay. So it gets adopted in multiple areas. You can go into a book. I'm just typing the name of the book, Loyalty 3.0. So this is an interesting book on gamification.
So there are lots of questions coming up, but I'll just take up the final one. Any gamification
you can in fact probably consolidate the questions and send it.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead. I have no issues for me.
Final one is how gamifications related to finance and accounting. There are so many questions related to finance and accounting here.
Okay, so if you, sorry again, you can just go into this website of us, what I've shared there. Again, on the games category, we have finance as a subject. Under that, there are about 8 games, I think, are there. 8 or 9 games are there. Okay. On the strategy side, there are a few games available. Some of the very interesting strategic games in the market is, one is the game which we use extensively. It's called Boardroom, which is from our company. There is a game called Capstone that comes from a company called Capsim. which is again an international game. There is another game called Markstrat, which works on the marketing strategy side of it, which comes from the uh, McGraw Hill, Tata McGraw Hill publication. So they have this Markstrat available. These are online computer-based games. There are offline classroom-based training games are also available. There is a company called ReviseWise in Mumbai which does that. There are a few of them who do corporate game-based learning mechanisms also. Okay. So you can just visit the website where you'll get more information. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. No, sir. Okay. We will compile the questions and we'll mail it to you, sir.
Sure. Okay. So I have put my mail ID. I have just shared my mobile number also. Please feel free to reach out. Okay. As I pointed out, I may not be able to immediately answer to your calls or questions. I'll come back to you as I find time, and I'll allocate some time to do that. Okay.
Thank you
Thanks
so much,
to AIMS for this opportunity. Nice to interact with all of you. Okay. Wish I made some sense today.
Thanks a lot, sir. Definitely. The entire session, we were so engaged. I think most of the participants also might be experiencing. We were just thinking out what tips can we take from you so that we can take them immediately to our classroom.
Yeah, there are a lot more we can do that. Okay, thank you. See you.
Now we have come to the end of this session. It was really a great learning experience for all of us. Sincere thanks to our resource person, Mr. Ganesh. Heartfelt thanks and gratitude to our National President AIMS, Dr. Nandagopal. I extend my sincere thanks to the Regional Vice President AIMS, Dr. Ramakant Patra. Special thanks to AIMS Secretariat and Dr. Sunil Joshi for excellent coordination of this event. Last but not the least, special thanks to all our esteemed participants who have made this session very lively and interactive. Thank you all. I will share the link.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir. Namaskar, sir.
So my special thanks to Professor Nandagopal because he is the one who initiated this, and he has been the biggest pattern of adopting a business simulation games for a longer time. Okay. So he has been using it in wherever that he has been, and he is a very serious advocate of our game-based learning. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
See you.